What's going on, guys? Constellation Sports. My name is Henry, and I am going to be talking about my top 10 fantasy football running backs today. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Coming in at number one, we have Christian McCaffrey. This is an A-plus smash pick. We know that Christian McCaffrey is going to do great things on the field, and he could quite possibly be the best fantasy football player ever. However, Sam Darnold does not love the check down. In his first 2 years in the NFL, Sam Darnold had the fifth lowest check down percentage in the league. Will this change with Christian McCaffrey in the backfield? Probably, but it is something to keep in mind. But we know Christian McCaffrey is going to catch passes. He's going to be a touchdown machine. And Christian McCaffrey has a low floor and a high ceiling. In 2019, he averaged 29.5 fantasy points. I think if you have the number one overall pick, this is somebody you lock in and you focus on a different round. I think that doesn't get much safer here than Christian McCaffrey. Coming in at number two, we have Dalvin Cook. This is also an A-plus pick. He should be a top 2 pick in fantasy, no matter what draft you're in. Cook has always been a running back one in his career. He has a Pro Football Focus rushing grade of 90.2. He's an elite rusher. He goes through the guards really, really well. A great inside runner. Tied second in rushing touchdowns last year of 16. I think realistically that could go up to 20 plus this year. I think Adam Thielen loses a little bit of his touchdown work, and Dalvin Cook picks it up. He's going to be a workhorse back, and last year he averaged 22 carries per game, which was only behind Derrick Henry. Speaking of Derrick Henry, here he is at number 3. We know that Henry is a carry machine. In 2019, he had 303 carries. In 2020, last year, he had 378 carries. That is a 15% increase in total carries. Will that continue this year? Probably not. I think he takes a little bit of a step back. I think 400 carries would be absolutely ridiculous. But then again, there is another game added to the schedule. Henry's a touchdown machine. If you're in the red zone, it is going to Derrick Henry. More likely, if you're in the 5-yard line, it's going to Derrick Henry. He's not going to catch passes, which is a little bit of a downfall. Will Julio Jones affect his touch share? Maybe a little bit. I don't think he's going to be that big of a factor, but that seems to be a concern that a lot of people have. Low floor, very low floor. He could put up 5 fantasy points, or he could put up 35 fantasy points. So that's something you need to keep in mind. And another thing I'd like to know is, will the Titans win this year? Will they take a little bit of a step back, or will they continue what they had going? Because in order for Derrick Henry to have a great fantasy football season, the Titans have to win football games. It's not an option. They cannot be behind, or Darrington Evans or a different running back will see work. So the Titans have to win. If you think about their division, the Jaguars, not that great. Texans, what's going on with Deshaun Watson? Will they be that great? We don't know. And the Colts with Carson Wentz injury news. I think that right now it's pretty safe to say the Titans will be good this year. Therefore, I really like Derrick Henry, and I think he is an A pick. Moving on, we have Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara I have as an A pick here, just elite PPR player. Something we want to keep in mind is who plays quarterback. Is it Jameis Winston most of the time with a little bit of Taysom Hill? Most likely. Will Taysom Hill shake up the offense? Will Kamara get touches when he's in the game? We don't know. It's a little bit of a question mark there. What about Michael Thomas? Is his injury a factor? Could that mean more work for Kamara, or could it mean that they go to different wide receivers and spread out the target share among more players? We don't know. That's something we're going to have to wait and see how that pans out. But we know that Kamara should be safe to catch some passes. He should be the go-to guy and the goal line back. We saw that with Mark Ingram and Latavius Murray. Kamara wasn't always a goal line back last year. That seemed to change a little bit, which it should be because Kamara is miles better than those two. And last year he had the 3rd most scrimmage yards in the NFL. I think Kamara is an A pick. I think there's a little bit of uncertainty. But once again, you're picking him 4th, 5th overall in your fantasy football drafts. I think you shouldn't really think too much about it. If he's available at number 4, I would take Alvin Kamara. Coming in at number 5, we have a little bit of a surprise for most of you probably. I have Austin Ekeler, and I'm giving him an A- pick this year. I love Austin Ekeler this year. Above Zeke, above Nick Chubb, and we'll get into that here. I think he's a PPR monster. You just know he's going to catch the ball. He's going to catch passes. And their coach even said that he's lining up in 2 wide receiver sets in camp next to Keenan Allen. And that could mean that he's a wide receiver and a running back, which is just elite upside. We know Justin Herbert loves the short passes, loves to check down. Look at Keenan Allen and Austin Ekeler's numbers last year before they got hurt. The receptions were off the charts, and the yards were not. There were not a lot of yards in comparison to the receptions. He will still get goal line carries, though. Austin Ekeler should get carries over Joshua Kelly in the red zone. And the Chargers may have to play catch-up. They might not win as many games this year as people think. I don't think they're going to blow teams out of the water. I think a lot of the second half is going to be them maybe down a touchdown or two, and that could mean perfect game script for Austin Ekeler He's got a low floor and a high ceiling. Austin Ekeler is a perfect smash PPR pick. If you can get him anywhere from pick 6 to 10 or 12, however many you're drafting, I would just lock in Austin Ekeler. Don't think twice about it. Coming in at number 6, we have Nick Chubb. The Browns will win on the ground this year. That's just a matter of fact. They're not going to win through the air with Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham. They're going to win on the ground with Nick Chubb, and their defense is going to back them up. Could very possibly be a 100-yard-a-game rusher. 94 per game in 2019. A little bit of a setback last year in 89, but he did have that injury, and I'm not quite sure he was 100% when he came back. He's beginning to catch the ball a little bit, which is good. I still think Kareem Hunt might get most of the third down back when they're catching or passing the ball. I think Kareem Hunt might get most of those snaps, but we'll see. He did catch the ball a little bit more last year. I want to go back to 2019 because in 2020 Nick Chubb was hurt. There seems to be this misconception that Nick Chubb is taking away a ton of rushing attempts from Nick Chubb, which is not the case. In 2019, when both were fully healthy, Hunt rushed on 15% of all running back carries that the Browns had. So Nick Chubb clearly is the number one back, and he should be the goal line back for the Cleveland Browns this year. Moving into number 7, here comes Ezekiel Elliott. I do like Nick Chubb over him. I think Elliott is a B-plus pick, and we'll get into that here. I think the Cowboys need to feed Zeke. I think that Zeke, it wouldn't harm him if he lost a couple pounds. He looks a little bit bigger. Hopefully he gets in shape. I return to 2019, 2018 form. Dallas is a fantasy carnival. I know that's a term that we've probably heard before. They score a ton of points. Dak Prescott and that offense light it up when they are healthy. But Dak Prescott's got some injury concerns this year. What could that mean? Could the Cowboys go a little bit of a tank mode? Quite possibly. We don't know how bad that injury is. Hopefully he's all good. We saw Tony Pollard get an increase in carries last year, even when Zeke was healthy. So are the Cowboys committed to Ezekiel Elliott? That's something we need to, take into account. The rise of CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb's stock has been rising. He might have a breakout year. Looked very good in camp. And Dak Prescott, when healthy last year, likes to rush the ball in the red zone. He can take away rushing touchdowns from Ezekiel Elliott, which should be a cause of concern for fantasy owners, something to keep in mind. And I think Zeke is touchdown dependent. He's not going to really get everything done without a touchdown. I think Zeke, in his best, is 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns a game. I still think he's a great running back, but I think he's going a little bit too high in fantasy football drafts. Coming in at number 8, we have Aaron Jones. This is a B-plus pick. I like Aaron Jones. Aaron Rodgers is back. How awesome. He will see end zone carries. He should get goal line work. I don't think A.J. Dillon is going to take that away from him, but I don't think that Aaron Jones is a workhorse back. We know that they like to rest him a little bit in the first half, so he's fresh for the second half. So something you have to take into account is that the Packers will win games. And if they're up big in the first half, they may not need Aaron Jones in the second half, and that could limit his upside. I think he's a relatively safe play just because I think he will see a lot of goal line carries, high ceiling, but once again, there is that risk of having a low floor if they do blow teams out of the water. Number 9, we have Saquon Barkley. What a confusing pick here. I'm giving it a solid B as my screen glitches. What the hell is going on? Saquon Barkley may miss weeks 1 through 3 with that knee injury, which has taken him over a year now to recover from, and that should be a cause of concern for fantasy owners. Giants' offensive line, not that great. They have tackles Andrew Thomas and Nate Soldier. One's washed, and one is a young rookie who has not been successful so far. I think there's lots of risk there. Saquon could get hurt again. Daniel Jones could get hurt again. And I don't think that Saquon Barkley is going to have the best line to run behind. But then again, we do need to remember that Saquon Barkley is a generational talent, and if anybody can overcome those challenges, it would be Barkley. Is he touchdown dependent? In my opinion, I think he's slightly touchdown dependent. I think he needs a touchdown or 2 a game in order to stay afloat. Don't think Saquon's going to get 150 yards on the ground with that offensive line, and I think Daniel Jones has, with the addition of Galladay, and the rising of Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard now, I think that he has more options than just Saquon Barkley. I don't think Saquon Barkley will be involved in the passing game as much this year as he has in years past, so that's something else I would take into account. I think he will, however, be a workhorse back on the ground if healthy. So if you can get him in the second round, which I'm seeing him dipping that far, I would probably lock and load some Saquon Barkley. Go with a running back before him in the first round. Always pick a running back in the first round. If you can get Saquon in the second, great. Just pick Mike Davis or a different value back further down the board. Number 10, we have Jonathan Taylor. I'm giving this pick a B. I like Taylor a lot this year, but there is some concern with Carson Wentz. We'll get to that in a second. I think Nyheim Hines is not a factor. People are blowing that out of the water. He saw some work last year. I think the coach of the Colts said that Taylor's going to be more of a workhorse back this year, just a little bit, which is good, more than last year, and he did have a decent year last year. So he had an 83.9 Pro Football Focus rating in his rookie year, which is great. But Carson Wentz is injured. Could that mean more work? Quite possibly. Jacob Eason or Brett Hundley, I think they signed. They're not going to really throw the ball all that great, so Jonathan Taylor may get more carries. But if those quarterbacks don't succeed and the offense does not get moving, then it's quite possible that Jonathan Taylor may fall out of the game script. They don't want to risk him getting hurt. They go tank mode, and maybe Nyheim Hines comes in during that garbage time. So I think there's a little bit of risk there. The fact that people are drafting him higher than Alvin Kamara, Nick Chubb, and Austin Ekeler is ludicrous to me. Will the Colts be competitive? Maybe. I think the Titans win that division. I think the Colts could fight for a wild card spot. But I think there's a lot of risk going in there with Jonathan Taylor, and I think that his ADP is a little bit too high as it sits right now. So that is my top 10 fantasy football running backs list for this year. Is there anything you would change, anything you disagree with? Please let me know in the comment section. And I look forward to making more videos for you guys. Peace.